This week, we talk about some release date changes happening in the MCU. We talk about some characters that just might show up in the new Spider Man movie. We talk about DC and Marvel's first crossover to happen in quite a few years, and a whole lot more things happening out there in the pop culture universe. Welcome to the Infinite Taylorverse. Warning.
Red alert.
Ay, 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 ay!
Danger, Will Robinson. Danger!
That's the emergency alert.
This episode is full of spoilers for some of the latest and greatest nerdy movies and shows.
Spoilers.
Listener discretion is advised. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Infinite Taylorverse podcast. I'm Billy Taylor.
And I'm Taylor Oxner.
And this week we're back to talk about all the fun stuff happening out there in the pop culture universe. But before we jump into that, Taylor, what have you been nerding out about this week, man?
This week I have been nerding out about Mario Party Jamboree.
Oh, nice.
I got that not too long ago, but I've just now really started to be able to play it a bunch, and it's been a lot of fun.
That is fun. Let's see. I guess I've been nerding out about the Karate Kid franchise. A little while back finished the Cobra Kai series, and they have that new Karate Kid Legends movie coming out where I guess Daniel LaRusso, Ralph Macchio's character, and then Mr. Han, which was Jackie Chan's character in the 2010 reboot, I guess. They joined together to teach a new kid, kind of bringing both of those franchises together. And anyway, I snagged a couple of passes, and my daughter really wants to see that movie. So tonight, she and I are going to go watch it. But the past couple of days, we've been rewatching the old Karate Kid movies. And then today, we just finished the Jackie Chan remake from 2010. So now we're all prepped and ready to see this new movie.
Those Karate Kid movies, I like the first three,
Uh-huh.
and then that's all I like.
Yeah.
I wasn't a big fan of Cobra Kai. I thought it was a little too cheesy for me, honestly,
Oh, it is-
compared to the movies.
It is definitely over the top. And watching it as a teacher, there are so many scenes that I'm like, where are the adults in this show?
Yeah.
But despite all that, I kind of liked it. And I thought it was cool how they kind of stayed true to the 80s music and the 80s cheesiness a little bit. Because I hadn't watched the Karate Kid movies in forever, except for this past week. And I realized, like, oh, dang, they were trying to imitate the feel of this old 80s movie in this modern show. And I think that definitely does make it cheesier, but they were trying to kind of give it that same aesthetic, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like those movies, and I remember the 2010 version getting a lot of backlash, but watching it again, and maybe it's because I'm a dad now, and I don't know. It gave me some good feels watching it.
Yeah, that's the one with Jaden Smith.
Yeah, and he's so little. He's like
Yeah.
11 or
I
12.
just didn't care for it.
Yeah, and I
It
remember
just-
kind of feeling that same way. And then suddenly I watched it earlier today, actually, and I don't know. Maybe my dad heart is different than my young, childless heart.
That's so funny.
Well, hey, when we get into the news today is super Marvel heavy. There's a lot of stuff out there about Spider-Man and Avengers. So let's just kind of jump into that.
All right.
So we know that the next Marvel movie coming is the Fantastic Four, and I had no idea about this, but I read an article where this past week David Tennant was at some convention. I honestly I can't remember which convention, but they were asking him about stuff, and they said, "Is there anything else you would love to do in the MCU? We know you're the Purple Man from Jessica Jones," and he said he actually auditioned to play Reed Richards. And ultimately, that role went to Pedro Pascal. But can you imagine if David Tennant was Reed Richards?
Yeah, that's interesting pick. I would say David Tennant if I really had to redo him.
Uh-huh.
There are probably a handful of characters I would pick, but Molecule Man, I feel like would be a great David Tennant.
Oh, yeah.
Him or Nightcrawler, believe it or not.
Oh, I could see that too.
But yeah, more Molecule Man.
It's funny, ever since I read him saying that, I just kind of picture the salt and pepper temple hair, and I can kind of see it a little bit. He's
Yeah, yeah,
a little bit lankier than Pedro Pascal.
a little bit.
And I always think of Mr. Fantastic as kind of a lanky dude, but anyway, all that to say is that would have been kind of a interesting twist if he was that actor playing that character. And along with Fantastic Four, apparently last night the NBA Western Conference final games were happening, and they played a new sneak peek of the movie during Game 4. And I haven't had a chance to find that yet, but anyone that's listening, you can go to your Google machines, and I guess there's a sneak peek out there now of the movie that you can watch.
Wow.
Well, with Spider-Man, we got some Spider-Man news. Spider-Man Brand New Day. Some things have kind of been shifting around. And I guess this is kind of some Avengers news first. Both Doomsday and Secret Wars have been pushed back. Doomsday was going to be May 1st, 2026, but they've moved it to December 18th, 2026. And Secret
Wow.
Wars was going to be May 7th, 2027, and they moved it to December 17th, 2027. And they have shifted Spider-Man Brand New Day to come before Avengers Doomsday.
Oh,
Yeah, so
that's a big shift.
that is a big shift, and it's still coming out. Doomsday is still coming out in 2026, which means that Spider-Man movie is going to be coming out way soon compared to what we thought it was going to be.
Yeah, I wonder why.
Yeah, maybe some of the storylines are going to make a little more sense with a slightly different release schedule, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, possibly. That's a big change, I feel like, to move a scheduled movie like that.
Yeah, that's probably going to put the Spider-Man movie in the May slot. That'd be my guess. They didn't really say a date.
Well, I mean, I'm kind of bummed out, but at the same time, at least we're getting the Spider-Man movie, so there's a little bit of a okay, there's a stickers to second prize here.
Yeah, a few things they've been saying about this movie. They've been saying that Spider-Man Brand New Day is gonna possibly have the MCU's biggest ever practical action scenes, meaning, no CGI or anything. So it's probably some kind of crazy fight scene, or I don't know, maybe has to do with, like, I picture Tobey Maguire in the train scene in his movie, and that had a lot of practical effects mixed with some CGI. So I'm trying to
Yeah.
picture something like that craziness, maybe. I don't know.
Huh. Okay.
And it's also rumored that Bruce Banner slash the Hulk plays a very big role in Spider-Man Brand New Day. And not just a cameo, a substantial role. So I'm trying to picture, especially if no one has a clue who Peter Parker is, what's going to connect those guys.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but we'll see.
Yeah, and there's so much Spider-Man news. This movie is also rumored to finally introduce the Osborns, specifically Harry Osborn, and I wonder who they're going to
Okay.
have play him.
I hope it's someone close to like we have in the Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man cartoon.
Yeah,
I liked that angle.
I like that too, and the way they became good friends, and
Yeah,
he kind of became like a man behind the chair thing. But I guess that only makes sense if Norman plays a similar role to that cartoon.
yeah, which I could see.
Yeah. Now back to Avengers a little bit. It sounds like the Void, and the person with this article was very specific. We don't mean the Void from Thunderbolts. We mean the Void at the end of time, where Loki winds up at the end of his series. That area is supposed to play a substantial role in this new Avengers Doomsday movie.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay,
And we know that we're going to finally kind of start seeing some X-Men in this thing. And it sounds like the first time we see the MCU X-Men in these movies or whatever, if you can picture the old X-Men 97 series, the first time you see all those guys, they're fighting Sentinels, and you see each of them showcase their powers. And that's kind of how we're introduced to those characters. From what I read, we're supposed to get a live action version of that the first time we see them. And I think that's super cool if it's true.
that's way super cool if it's true.
We also had some leaked images online, and it showed Deadpool and Domino spotted on the set of Avengers Doomsday. So,
Oh,
yeah. I guess they're gonna be part of this in one way or another, whether it's small or big, we have no idea, but they were spotted on set, and that's kind of cool.
I hope it's not big.
Yeah.
I hope it's comedic relief.
That's my first thought
Honestly,
too. I'll bet it is for a quick comedic thing. Vision Quest, we've been hearing a lot about it, but not getting a lot of details. It sounds like when Vision Quest finally comes out, the series will begin literally in that moment where we see the White Vision kind of realize what's going on, who he is, his programming, blah, blah, blah. That moment when he flies away and never to be seen again. Well, it sounds like the series is going to begin literally in that moment.
okay.
So we'll see what he's been up to. We know that Ironheart is coming really soon, and it was recently said that the Hood character will be developed in this series, and something's going to happen by the end of that series that makes him kind of important, and he is going to show up in multiple MCU projects after this series, from what I've read. So hopefully this character's done right.
Yeah.
We know a little while back we got that Moon Knight series, and a lot of people have been wondering, are we going to see Moon Knight again? Are we going to get his own show again? Will he just show up in other movies? Well, it sounds like Moon Knight season 2 is still on the table, but it's not going to happen until after a Midnight Suns project. And then
Okay.
the Russo brothers are going to be helping with that project after Avengers Doomsday. In fact, they're currently right now casting for the MCU's official Ghost Rider who will appear in Avengers Doomsday, from what I've read.
Wow.
Yeah, so they're kind of moving fast to add all these things.
Well, good.
Yeah, there's a Nova project that we've been hearing about. It sounds like the Nova project was put on hold until this next phase of the MCU is finished. But in this whole post Doomsday, post Secret Wars phase, that character is going to play a key role in the next saga. So that's kind of cool.
Okay.
We know that Thunderbolts just finished up, and Valentina Allegra de Fontaine was a big part of that movie. Well, rumors are saying that those experiments we heard about, the stuff that led to Sentry existing, and then all the failed experiments and whatever else, well, her same company apparently, in this official Marvel thing that came out, they said this company has been up to some sinister activity. So
Ah.
yeah, so there's a big rumor right now that it'll be tied to the first MCU X-Men movie, which all the rumors have been saying the villain is going to be Mr. Sinister in that first movie. So that would make sense.
Yeah, that's wild. Okay.
Now, this is a little off topic. We know recently that Madam Web movie came out, and it was, another Sony movie.
Yeah.
I can't remember. Did you ever have a chance to watch it, or did you really just not want to?
No, I
Yeah,
did not.
that's what I thought. Well, it sounds like there's a lot of, how do they put it? There's a lot of unused footage that majorly referenced MCU characters. It sounds like there was a whole scene with Daily Bugle stuff happening, and they made mention of the Thanos event, and they made mention of the Hulk, and Iron Man, Doctor Strange, the God of Thunder, Carol Danvers. They made mention of all these things, but ultimately they decided to remove that footage and make it its own thing, which I guess I'm glad they did.
Yeah.
It'd be kind of weird if they had all that stuff and then they had all these Spider-Man characters and didn't even mention Spider-Man once.
Yeah. That
But
would be weird.
yeah, apparently that was originally going to be tied to the MCU and they decided not to.
Huh.
We know that Eyes of Wakanda animated series is coming soon, and the article I read about it a couple of days ago says that this is going to be the first animated series that officially takes place in the main MCU universe. And it's going to start a long time ago. It's going to be kind of a historical piece, and it's going to time jump a lot throughout history. But it starts just after the Western Bronze Age, and it's kind of an espionage spy story that just keeps moving forward over many, many years. But it sounds really cool.
Interesting. Well, I guess it'll give a bunch of information, though, right?
Oh yeah,
Nothing else?
that's what I'm thinking, yeah. And the final thing with the MCU for this week, we know that we're eventually getting this Punisher special presentation, and they just did out a casting call to cast a female villain. So I wonder who could play a female villain in the Punisher's world.
For like Viper, probably.
Oh, that would
Or
make sense.
Typhoid Mary.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think of that character.
Yeah, Typhoid Mary, probably.
Yeah, that'd be crazy.
Since they already have an Electra.
Yep, yep.
And I would put or Madam Mask. I would put one of those three
Yeah.
as the Punisher female villains. Unless they're going to do a gender swap, then I have no idea then.
I didn't even think of that, and that is always a possibility.
Yeah,
Now, as we shift over to DC, the first bit of news is actually Marvel and DC together. So, Marvel and
awesome.
DC are about to have their first comic crossover in many years, and it's going to take place in the form of a Batman Deadpool comic. And
Wow.
yeah, it's going to be two one shots that kind of go together. Marvel's going to release one officially, and DC's going to release one officially. And it sounds like the one from Marvel is going to be written by Zeb Wells, and the one from DC is going to be written by Grant Morrison.
Okay.
But yeah, that'll be kind of fun to read.
Sure. Yeah.
Now, with more DC stuff, we know that Superman is coming. We're, gosh, I think as of us recording this, we're about 43 days away, something like that. We're so close. But they just released the official time, and it's going to be 2 hours and 2 minutes. That's how long it is.
Oh, that's not that long.
Yeah. And then soon after, specifically August 21st, we get Peacemaker season 2. And apparently, this is going to have a lot of connection to stuff and people from the Superman movie because it's coming out the next month, immediately afterwards. And
Okay.
not only will it have connections to the things that happen in that movie, it'll also have a lot of appearances from other characters, which we've seen that in the trailer, but also some surprise cameos that we might not expect. So I think that'll be cool to see.
Yeah. Bring on it all. Bring it all.
We know a little while back we got that Flash movie, everyone's favorite movie, that did
Yeah.
their own DCU version of Flashpoint.
Yeah.
And if you can remember all the flashbacks we got in previous movies with Ben Affleck's Batman, his dad, Thomas Wayne, was played by Jeffrey Dean Morgan, and his mom was played by the actress that played Maggie on Walking Dead. I don't know why I can't think of her name right now. But if you can think of the Flashpoint comic book, all kinds of stuff happens throughout the timeline that messes things up, and Bruce dies in the alley, and Thomas Wayne becomes this very unhinged, doesn't care to kill version of Batman. So the Flashpoint Batman in the comics is that character. And Jeffrey Dean Morgan was recently at some convention, and someone was asking him randomly, were you ever considered to play the Thomas Wayne crazy Flashpoint Batman? And he said, actually, there was a whole conversation about that, and it was actually going to go that route with him until the conversation of Michael Keaton coming back happened. And he went on to say stuff like, "Well, why wouldn't you get Michael Keaton? Of course you're going to get Michael Keaton." But anyway, there's an alternate world out here where Jeffrey Dean Morgan played Thomas Wayne Flashpoint Batman, and I think that could have been really cool.
That would have been very cool.
Thing
That
with
sucks.
I know that does kind of suck. That would have been really cool to see. And don't get me wrong, the only redeeming point of that movie was Michael Keaton's Batman.
Yeah, it's true.
But maybe the whole movie would have been a different vibe with this version of Batman. It would have been cool.
Yeah, maybe.
The final thing I have with DC this week is that Andy Serkis, who plays Alfred in the Robert Pattinson Batman movie, well, we know that Batman 2 is coming soon. And Andy Serkis was recently in an interview talking about this movie, and he didn't give a lot away, but he kind of alluded to the fact that we might see some of Alfred's British intelligence, Secret Service type roots in this movie. And I think that'll be cool because it'll be the first time we've seen it in a movie.
Yeah.
Over with Star Wars, we know that Andor ended recently, and for people that watched it, it ended exactly how you would think leading up to Rogue One. We know that there's the love interest between Cassian Andor and the character Bix, and she goes away, and on the final scene, spoiler alert, everyone, we see her safe and sound, far away from everything, and we find out she's pregnant. But obviously that's Cassian Andor's baby, but Cassian doesn't even know any of that stuff, and then he goes into the events of Rogue One, and then we know what happens there. He basically sacrifices himself and dies, getting the plans to the Death Star to the rebellion. Well, anyway, long story short, it sounds like we might be getting another Star Wars series following that Bix character, and the big rumor is that their child grows up to be Poe Dameron, who's in the Star Wars sequel movies.
Oh,
And that's a big rumor. That's no one's confirmed that, but the timeline makes sense. The age of the baby makes sense. That'd be kind of cool.
that would be cool.
Now, elsewhere out there in the pop culture universe, this past weekend, The Last of Us season 2 had its finale, and it was a major cliffhanger. It ends, boom, it ends right with a scene where there's a shot fired, you don't know exactly who gets shot, and there's kind of a flashback that says Seattle Day 1, and then the season ends. And
Yeah.
it sounds like the next season is going to follow this Abby character who's kind of been the main antagonist of this season. And first of all, when I was watching it, I had no idea it was the finale of the season, and
Oh,
I didn't think anything of it. But then I started reading, stuff to talk about for this week, and it kept saying that cliffhanger finale, and I was like, "What? That was horrible to be a finale. It was just like the end of a normal episode that will pick up the next week. But no, we got to wait a year to see what happens next."
yeah. That's crazy.
Yep. Oh, over in Doctor Who land, there's a big rumor that so this coming weekend, this coming Saturday is this season's finale of Doctor Who, and there's a big rumor that Ncuti Gatwa's character is going to regenerate in this episode into whoever's going to be the 16th Doctor. Now we don't know if that's true or not, but that's kind of what's floating around out there. But the craziest rumor is that the person who would come after him as the 16th Doctor might be played by Billie Piper, who played Rose Tyler and Bad Wolf. So that'd be super crazy if they go with an actress that we've already seen to play the next version of the Doctor. It sounds a little crazy to me and a little far-fetched. I'm just reporting what people are saying on the internet.
That's okay.
Yeah. But, we'll know this weekend what's true as it gets to its season finale. Maybe he won't regenerate at all. Maybe we'll still have him, which is cool because I've really enjoyed him. But yeah, we'll see where they go with that.
Yeah, interesting.
For people who've enjoyed Amazon Prime's Wheel of Time series, it just got canceled after its third season. Now, that's a show I've wanted to get into. I've only watched one episode of it, the pilot episode. That's all I've seen. And if you're into that,
Okay.
fantasy period piece type stuff, Lord of the Rings style, it seemed really good. So the only reason I didn't continue getting too into it was just basically time. I didn't have time. But for fans of that show, that kind of sucks because it sounds like season three wasn't conclusive. There's a lot of story to still tell, and then it got canceled.
Oh, dang.
Oh, for people anxiously awaiting the new Toxic Avenger movie, it sounds like they just released a full-length trailer for that. I've only seen the teaser, and I haven't watched this full-length trailer yet. But for anyone listening, when you're done listening, you have to go again to your Google machine and find that trailer if you're wanting to see that movie.
That's crazy.
Have you watched the modern Stephen King It remake movies?
Oh, yeah, I have. Yeah, yeah.
So we watched the first one, and I never got around to watching part two. And this week they released a trailer for Welcome to Derry, which is going to be a prequel series to that
Yeah.
movie. And it got me thinking, I've never watched part two. So Emily and I went back and watched part one and part two, and I really enjoyed them.
Oh, yeah, they're really good.
I didn't think of it so much as a horror movie. It kind of felt like, I don't know, it's the same kind of vibe you get when you watch Stranger Things. That's what it felt like to me.
Yeah, it's a horror thriller.
Yeah, and I don't know, we really enjoyed it, and for that, kind of a movie, it had some pretty good feel-good moments in it, and yeah, I enjoyed it. And then, of course, this trailer came out, and it's going to be the same actor playing Pennywise from those movies, and it's going to be a direct prequel to those movies. And I think it'll be cool to see that character's origin just a little bit, beyond the brief ancient history story we kind of get in the second movie. It'll be cool to see some of that stuff happen, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
And the final thing on the list for today, we've talked a little bit about this upcoming Street Fighter movie. And I know you sent me a post the other day that sounds like Roman Reigns from WWE is going to be playing Akuma in this movie.
Yeah,
And
I'm
then
really excited for it.
yeah. And they just announced also that Jason Momoa is going to play Blanca in this movie.
Whoa,
So that's kind of crazy.
that's way crazy.
But yeah, the Street Fighter movies sounds like it's going to be kind of cool.
Yeah, it's gonna be cool.
But hey, that is all the news for this week. I hope you guys are having a good start to the summer. The weather's kind of crazy in Kansas, but before too long, it's going to be hot and time to swim, which is one of my favorite things to do. AKA, watch my kids swim while I'm kicked back on a lawn chair reading a comic book.
Yeah,
But hey, as for us here at the Taylorverse, I've been Billy Taylor.
have Taylor Oxer.
And come back next week, guys. Same Taylor time, same Taylor channel.
Bye.
Bye.